No one in the executive lobby expected the ordinary Monday morning to become the moment that would change the company forever. The CEO didn't hesitate. He looked at the elderly janitor, standing quietly in front of him, and said 4 cold words, "Hand over your badge." "You're fired." The lobby fell silent. Employees glanced up from their desks, pretending not to stare. The old man didn't argue. He didn't beg for another chance. He didn't even ask why. Instead, he calmly removed his employee badge, folded his worn cleaning gloves with steady hands, and gave the CEO a polite nod. "Of course, sir," he said softly. To everyone watching, it looked like the end of an ordinary janitor's job. But they couldn't have been more wrong, because less than an hour later, the board of directors would walk through those same glass doors. Stop. In front of the very same man, rise to their feet, and address him with 2 words that would leave the CEO completely speechless. "Mr. Chairman," the quiet janitor's name was Thomas Hale. For the past 6 months, everyone at Apex Dynamics believed he was just another maintenance worker. Every morning at exactly 5:30, long before the first executive arrived, Thomas unlocked the front entrance, swept the marble floors until they sparkled, watered the lobby plants, and quietly straightened family photographs employees accidentally knocked sideways on their desks. Most people barely noticed him. To them, he was simply the janitor. But those who took the time to speak with him noticed something unusual. Whenever someone was discouraged, Thomas always knew exactly what to say. He encouraged a nervous intern moments before her biggest presentation. He comforted the receptionist. After she received heartbreaking news about her father, he even spent his own lunch break repairing a young programmer's bicycle so the man could make it home safely. Thomas never spoke about his past. He never mentioned where he came from. He never tried to impress anyone. Whenever someone thanked him, he smiled and said, "If your work makes someone else's day a little brighter, you've already done something worthwhile." No one questioned those words. No one wondered why a janitor carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had led people before. And no one, not even the CEO, had the slightest idea that the man pushing a mop through the lobby was connected to Apex Dynamics in a way that would soon shake the entire company to its core. Thomas arrived the next morning just as he always did. Before sunrise, he quietly polished the glass entrance doors, emptied the recycling bins, and greeted the overnight security guards with his familiar smile. "Morning, Mr. Hale," one of them said. "Looks like another busy day." Thomas chuckled softly. "Every day is a good day if we get the chance to help someone." Inside the executive offices, however, the atmosphere was very different. The newly appointed CEO, Victor Langford, was preparing for an important board meeting. Known for demanding perfection, Victor believed discipline mattered more than compassion. Since taking over 3 months earlier, he had focused on appearances, efficiency, and cutting anything he considered unnecessary. As he walked through the lobby, he suddenly stopped. A small puddle of rainwater had formed near the revolving door where several employees had tracked in mud from outside. Victor frowned. "What is this?" The receptionist nervously replied, "It just started raining." "Sir, Mr. Hale is getting the mop." At that exact moment, Thomas hurried toward the entrance carrying a cleaning cart. "I'm sorry for the delay," he said calmly. "I'll have it cleaned in just a moment." Victor looked at Thomas's worn uniform and shook his head. "This lobby is the first thing our investors see. I understand." "You understand?" Victor's voice grew louder. Then why wasn't it spotless before they arrived? Several employees looked down at their desks, pretending not to listen. Thomas answered respectfully, "I was helping one of our maintenance workers after he slipped on the loading dock. I wanted to make sure he wasn't injured. Victor showed no sympathy. So you abandoned your responsibilities? No, sir. I chose the most urgent one. Victor folded his arms. That's not your decision to make. Without another word, he reached for Thomas's employee. Badge, I've seen enough. The lobby fell. Silent. Hand me your badge. Thomas slowly unclipped it from his shirt. I never intended to cause trouble. Victor took the badge. Your employment ends. Today. No one dared to speak. The receptionist's eyes filled with tears. The young programmer whose bicycle Thomas had repaired clenched his fists but remained silent. Thomas simply smiled. I hope the company continues to do well. Victor gave a short nod. It will. Thomas placed his folded gloves on the cleaning cart. Before leaving, he quietly picked up a candy wrapper someone had dropped near the entrance and placed it in the trash. Even after being fired, he refused to leave the building untidy. As Thomas reached the front doors, a convoy of black executive cars pulled into the parking area. Moments later, several distinguished men and women stepped out, accompanied by corporate attorneys and senior advisors. The receptionist whispered nervously, "The board of directors." Victor straightened his jacket, ready to welcome them. But the moment the board members entered the lobby, their attention wasn't on the CEO. It was on the elderly janitor walking quietly toward the exit. The chair of the board stopped in his tracks. A warm smile spread across his face. Then, in a voice that echoed through the silent lobby, he called out, "Mr. Chairman, we were hoping you'd arrive before the meeting." The words seemed to freeze time. "Mr. Chairman." No one moved. Victor stared at the members of the board of directors, convinced he had misunderstood what he had just heard. Receptionist slowly covered her mouth. The security guards exchanged confused glances. Thomas stopped at the entrance and turned around with the same calm expression he had worn all morning. The chairwoman of the board, Margaret Ellison, walked toward him with a warm smile. "There you are," she said. "We've been looking for you." Thomas smiled politely. "I'm sorry." "I didn't want to interrupt the company's work." Margaret laughed softly. "You never do." She reached out and shook his hand with genuine respect. Behind her, every board member did the same. "Good morning, Mr. Chairman?" Victor's face turned pale. "Chairman?" he asked quietly. Margaret turned toward him. "Yes, this is Thomas Hale, the founder of Apex Dynamics." The room fell completely silent. 28 years earlier, Thomas had started the company in a rented warehouse with only 3 employees and one impossible dream: to build a business where people would always matter more than profits. For decades, he had led Apex with honesty and compassion. When his health began to decline, he stepped away from daily leadership, appointing a professional management team while remaining chairman of the board. Only a handful of directors knew that. Every year, Thomas returned to the company in disguise, not to test people's intelligence, but to understand how employees were truly treated. He insisted on working as an ordinary janitor. He accepted no special treatment, no one outside the board. Was told his identity. "I've learned more holding a mop than I ever did sitting behind a mahogany desk," Thomas said gently. "You discover a company's character when people believe you have no power." Margaret nodded. "And this year's visit revealed more than we expected." Victor felt his throat tighten. Only hours earlier, he had dismissed the man who had built the company from nothing. The realization hit him like a wave. He hadn't fired an elderly janitor. He had fired the founder of Apex Dynamics, and the board had witnessed everything. No one in the lobby dared to speak. Victor stood motionless, still holding Thomas's employee badge in his hand. Just minutes earlier, he had removed it without a second thought. Now, it felt heavier than anything he had ever carried. Slowly, he stepped forward. "Mr. Hale," he began, his voice unsteady, "I owe you a sincere apology." Thomas looked at him with the same gentle smile he had shown every employee. "Every morning. We all make mistakes, Victor." Victor lowered his head. "No. I judged your position instead of your character. I saw a uniform, not a human being." Thomas accepted the badge back but didn't clip it onto his shirt. Instead, he held it in his hand and quietly said, "A leader's greatest responsibility isn't protecting a company's image. It's protecting the dignity of the people who build it." The words settled over the room like silence after a storm. Margaret then addressed the employees. "For years, Thomas has reminded this board of one simple truth. A company succeeds not because of its tallest office, but because of the people who unlock its doors, answer its phones, clean its floors, write its code, and serve one another with respect." Many employees wiped tears from their eyes. The young programmer stepped forward. "Mr. Hale, thank you for helping me fix my bicycle." Thomas smiled. "I didn't fix a bicycle." He looked around the room. "I helped someone get home to his family." The receptionist quietly added, "You remembered my father's surgery when no one else did." Thomas nodded. "Kindness is easiest to give when nobody expects it." Margaret turned back to Victor. "The board has reached its decision." Victor stood silently, accepting whatever came next. "We're not removing you because of one bad decision," Margaret said. "We're asking you to become the kind of leader this company was built to follow." She paused. "You'll complete a leadership development program and spend one day each month working alongside employees in every department, from maintenance to customer service. Leadership begins with understanding." Victor's eyes filled with gratitude. "I won't waste this second chance." Thomas placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Then, "Today wasn't a failure. It was the beginning of becoming a better leader." A week later, employees noticed something different. The CEO greeted the janitorial staff by name. He ate lunch with interns. He thanked the security guards before leaving each evening. And hanging in the company lobby, beneath the Apex Dynamics logo, was a new plaque chosen by Thomas himself. It read, "The measure of a leader is not how they treat the powerful, but how they treat those who expect nothing in return." As Thomas quietly walked out of the building that afternoon, no one saw a janitor. No one saw only a chairman. They saw a man who had spent his life proving that the strongest leaders don't demand respect. They earn it through humility, compassion, and the quiet courage to serve others first. Before we end today's story, thank you for spending these moments with Kindness Corner Stories. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with someone who believes true leadership begins with kindness. And don't forget to tell us in the comments which city and country you're watching from. We love hearing from our growing kindness family around the world. Remember, titles may open doors, money may build companies, but only character leaves a legacy that people remember long after the office lights go out. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.